take two. We're back from our little break. All right, we're just going to do the hit this time. Joey, baby, don't get crazy. Detours, fences, I get defensive. I know you've seen it all before, so I won't say it anymore. I'll just stand by and let you fight your secret war. Though I used to wonder why, used to cry till I was dry, still sometimes I get strange pain inside. Oh, oh, Joey, if you're hurting, so am I. Joey, honey, I got the money. All is forgiven. Listen, listen. And if you seem to be confused, I didn't mean to be with you. And when you said I scared you, I guess you scared me too. If it's love you're looking for, I can give a little more. And if you're somewhere out there, passed out on the floor, oh, and Joey, I'm not angry anymore. If I seem to be confused, I didn't mean to be with you. And when you said I scared you, well, I guess you scared me too. I got lucky once before, I don't want to close the door. So if you're somewhere drunk and passed out on the floor, oh, Joey, I'm not angry anymore. Joey, I'm not angry anymore.
gets a little slowed down and you make it your own. It's a great song though.
That was the song that actually first got me into them because growing up where I did, they obviously weren't a radio presence.
No.
I don't even think they were much of a radio presence in Southern California. Where they were from.
Yeah.
And it was you had to live in a place that had alternative radio and underground record stores and cool stuff, which we didn't have.
Yeah.
Where I was, but that was the one song that of theirs that made it to top 40 radio. And hearing that, of course, I did what I always did. I went down to Yellow Rose Records and ordered the record, and
here it came.
The rest is history. Then I had to find out what else there was. And
there was two bands like that. I think Concrete Blonde was one of them, and then the X was another band that I think was around the same kind of thing, same kind of sound that never made it, that big, but it still had that little southern flair to it, and that punk edge to it too. And I think those were two bands that really meshed together. I loved X, but Concrete Blonde you don't hear that much anymore.
I never would have thought of putting the two of those together, but I'm not gonna argue with you on the point because I can kind of see it now that I'm thinking about it.
And I think it's the female singer thing, the vocal and all that. I think it's very similar, but I think they're both kind of the same, kind of from the same thing. But who knows? Maybe everyone thinks I'm fucking crazy, but
a lot of people think you're fucking crazy.
It doesn't matter. Give us an original. You ready?
Oh,
do it. Oh yeah. No! Oh shit!
Oh no! Everything's falling apart. I'm just gonna try and heat this up a little more.
I know I put one on while you're gone.
Well, we got the big longs on that'll burn a long time, but we got to get some heat going here.
Because that's why I got that kindling for it. There we go. Yeah, cool down a little bit. I don't know what I'm doing.
It's okay, man. I forgive you.
I was the Boy Scout.
That's okay. You were hanging out with girls at parties while I was out camping in the woods with a bunch of dudes.
That's good.
Yeah.
I had some fun.
I got some skills out of it, though.
I got some skills too.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if they're the best in the world, but.
Do you have anything you want to hear? Or?
No. Do what you feel. Do what you feel.
Let's see. Where did I put it? I thought I had it. There it is. We'll do I don't remember what I've done. We're gonna have to start making notes on these.
We gotta get our playlist down
on these sessions. So if I've done this before, I apologize. But it's what's in my head right now. This is If I Was a Bird. It's off the New Mexico Dirt EP. It came out in 15, 16, 15. I think it was around Christmas time in 15, New Year's 16, somewhere around there. Wishing was a bird up in the sky, and watching all of you as you shuffle on by on the way to your jobs and on the way to your little league games. I wouldn't care where you were going, and I'd never need to learn your names. I could be a snake in the tall, cool grass, where you care about the president or military brass on the war over there, what it is we're fighting for. I only care about snake stuff, Mama, can I have some more? Cry so blue, just the shine of me would send a shiver through you. I'd come up on your porch and watch you shake like a fraidy cat. Scare the pants off you, I'd never eat you, but you don't know that. Or I could be a worm in the damp black earth, just a squirming through the dirt from the moment of birth, aerating your soil, growing your tomatoes and corn. till the bird from the first verse got me on an early morning. I could be a trout swimming in a brook and never fear illegals or white collar crooks, cause my only enemy would be a fly with a little brass hook. But when you're a fish, it's hard to find the time to read a good book. So maybe I just stay right where I'm at, with my pen and my notebook and my country boy hat. There's no wolves or birds or snakes, and the books are all dry. It ain't easy being me, but I'm here, so might as well try.
We didn't do that one. I would remember. I would have remembered that one. So
You would have remembered that one?
I like that one. That's a good one. I like it. The sun's going down.
The sun is going down.
It's getting a little bit cooler out.
We're gonna let the sun go down on me.
That's
Speaking of, everybody speaks Elton John.
George Michael. Was it?
George Michael covered it.
All right, that's right. That's right.
But that was an Elton John song.
I don't know. All I know is George Michael. No, I know.
I miss George Michael. That guy, what a voice, man.
He was amazing.
What a voice. What an entertainer. What a talent.
Just a bad time to be him. I think that just sums it up. Biggest pop sensation in the world, and all the ladies love him. And hey, dudes, I'm gay. That's cool. I don't think anyone ever questioned the fact that I think I've had this conversation before with girls that were in love with George Michael, or girls that were in love with anyone that was gay, and they were like, I had no idea. I'm like, how did you have no idea? How'd you have no idea? Maybe I did back then, but I don't know.
I think a lot of it was denial, and I think a lot of it was, societal pressure that in the time when we grew up, it was, there weren't enough people out.
Yeah.
And because it was dangerous.
Yeah.
And it was scary.
Yeah.
And there was the societal pressure not to be gay.
Yeah.
And that being gay was not a cool thing to be or okay. And I think for that reason that a lot of us had a lot of denial when it came to our favorite artists or entertainers that we enjoyed. We were like, that guy or that girl, we're like, no, they're not. They're not. No, they're way too cool.
Can't handle.
It was because of, there was this whole narrative throughout society that,
well, they made it
cool
evil.
people don't do this.
Yeah, they made it evil.
Yeah, they made it evil. They made it wrong. They made it shameful.
Yeah,
they made it sinful. And it was, cool people don't do this. And we thought these people were incredibly cool, so they couldn't possibly, be having sex with people of their same, gender or whatever.
Had a conversation about that because growing up Catholic school, I was in Catholic school for 8 years, and that whole guilt thing comes up a lot of anything. I mean, it'll fuck you up. I mean, 8 years. Some people go through 12 years. I didn't go to Catholic high school, but a friend of mine were talking about it too. That the Catholic guilt thing and the shame and everything else. It'll fuck you up for life, and it takes a long time to get out of that. And I think that was the big thing that they put. They always pushed the gay. You can't be gay. I think that on the playground, our favorite thing to do was call someone a fag. I mean, that was the thing.
There was no bigger insult.
Absolutely not.
And growing up where I did, in the Bible Belt in West Texas, it's if somebody really made it their mission, and people would do this to haze people or to bully people or whatever. They would tell people that you're a fag and you're gay or this, and there was a million words for it. And if there were situations I was in growing up where if you didn't go fight that guy, you might as well just come out to everybody.
Yeah.
And that was just as wrong as what was happening to begin with.
Yeah.
It's because it bred a culture of violence. You had it in your head so deeply that being gay was a bad thing that you were ready to beat the shit out of somebody who suggested that you were.
And people still say it. I mean, I still have friends that still, you're a fag or whatever. I'm like, dude, grow up. What the hell's wrong?
It's
over. And I feel bad. And you go back to the to the time when you used to do it, and it just used to be a normal thing. And you think to, racial terms and everything else. It's like
Yeah,
people, you don't do certain shit anymore because it's not right. It's not about, they talk about the cancel culture and everything. I'm like, yeah, some things need to be canceled, man.
some things do, and you get to the point where I talk to these old guys, and they're like, well, people didn't used to be so offended by everything, and I'm like, no, I guarantee you,
They were the people that
I
we were
guarantee
calling
you,
it.
that gay people were offended when people were throwing the word fag around, or
Yeah,
dyke, or
yeah, yeah,
any of the
yeah,
other slurs, just the same as no. Your black friend who didn't mind when you told racial jokes
yeah,
was
yeah.
not one of the good ones.
No,
He fucking hated that.
absolutely.
He didn't enjoy that in the least.
No, no, it's
He
not fun.
he acted like it was okay, because if he didn't, what would have happened? It
Exactly.
was like no, society is changing, and it's not the same as it used to be. But it's not because people are overly sensitive. It's because people are realizing that we've been assholes to each other for a really
Absolutely.
long time.
I'd say that
And
when
it's
people would tell Polish jokes too around Berchaski around me, I wouldn't get mad or anything because I'm Polish. I wouldn't understand them. Oh, that's terrible.
that's pretty funny.
We're talking about it. Whatever. I had to add some humor to it.
Well,
Some
yeah,
humor
you have
it.
to, and
I didn't understand them.
that's I have a lesbian friend who's a dear friend of mine, and I love her to pieces. And one of the things that comes out of her mouth constantly, and from her, it's funny
Yeah.
because of the way she delivers it, is, "Oh my God, that's so gay," and that and
You're allowed to own
I have
that though,
yeah,
right?
I have other gay friends that are like, they don't like her for that. They don't like her doing
Okay.
that.
All
And I'm
right.
like, and I understand that's cool, but I'm not going to get mad at her for it.
No, absolutely not.
That's I'm not going to say
I
it,
won't. Nope. I'm not
and
gonna say it.
not even to her,
Yeah.
because that wouldn't be okay with me. But
No.
but to hear her say it, it makes me laugh every time.
That's amazing. Yeah, they were talking about because it's come up the cancel culture things coming up, things that I think the conservatives are more going after that sort of thing. We're canceling everything.
you know,
But
it,
didn't they cancel everything first? Like when the Dixie Chicks went against George Bush, didn't they stop selling the Dixie Chicks albums?
they don't like it when it happens to them, and
No.
that's what it comes down to. And it's they they got I don't know. They didn't mind canceling gay people when they wanted a cake, but they didn't want the bakery canceled by the gay people.
Right.
That's
Right.
what it comes down to, and it's all in how it affects you personally. I don't know. The whole cancel culture thing. I When I was a kid, we called it being held accountable for things you said and did.
Yeah.
And if you said and did something that pissed everybody off, guess what? It had negative repercussions.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's I was raised in an extremely conservative environment, and I was told from the time I was a little kid, vote with your wallet.
Yeah.
If you don't like somebody's values, then don't do business with them.
Yeah.
If you don't want people thinking that you support this practice, then don't give them your money. And I was told that by staunchly conservative people from the time I was a child.
Yeah.
And now they're all coming back, oh, you're putting people out of work because you don't want to buy chicken sandwiches for people who don't like gay people. Really, you're going to put people out of work over that? You told me to.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
exactly.
You know?
And it's always the ones too when they say that. I'm like, no, I don't really don't support the chains anyway. So it's always the mom and pop one. So that doesn't affect me at all. I'm not going to go to Hobby Lobby. I'm not going to go to Chick-fil-A to get a chicken sandwich because I don't really support them. I don't do that. I support small businesses, but at the same time, it's dumb.
People
It's
don't
dumb,
realize
man.
it's a double-edged thing too. They're like, I got a guy yelling at me one day, on social media, because I mentioned that I was not going to spend money with this people anymore, because I found out that they gave their profits, to causes that I don't believe in at all.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give them money and have them turn around and give it to focus on the family.
Yeah.
I don't support that. I don't want my money going there.
Yeah.
So the simplest way for me to do that is not to give them my money. That and so he's like, well, you're not thinking about, what about all their employees? What about, if they go out of business, where are all these people going to get jobs? I'm like, well, there's two sets of people, responsible for that. I'll take my half of it with a clear conscience.
Yeah.
What is their employer doing?
Right.
Because their employer can easily change their practices and not have to worry about it and still get my money.
Yeah.
That's
That's all they have to do. All they got to do is do the right thing.
It's because what it comes down to with these employers and with capitalist society is it's all about who you're marketing to and whose money you're trying to get.
Yeah.
And and I guarantee you, there's not a company in the world that wouldn't change their viewpoint based on their profit, their bottom line. And if they think they can get more money from the rednecks than they can from the
Dollar
from the
America,
blue,
just say
if
the
they think they
ruthless.
can get more money from the backward ass redneck people than they can get from the Starbucks and Save the Whales crowd,
Yeah,
then they're going to keep catering to them. They're not going to change their business practices unless there's more profit in it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what it comes down to. But I still get to keep a clear conscience because
yeah. Because
I'm not supporting bullshit
some
if
you
I
don't
can
believe
help
it.
it. Yeah.
It's kind of like I go back to the Catholic Church or the regular church when we were going to church here and there, and one of my friends on the Facebook was the pastor of the church, and I recently found that he unfriended me. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? But
Oh, I can. Yeah.
and it's wild because until you look at it, and I look back to the Catholic Church and what they're selling to you is that line where we're not going to say anything to offend anyone, but in the back of your mind, they're big old Trump supporters and everything else, and then you toe the line to say this isn't right. Then all of a sudden, I'm unfriended. I'm not going back to church, obviously, but it is what it is because they don't want to be hanging around with us liberal folks or anything like that. But Catholic Church was it was gay and divorce. I mean, those were things that never you couldn't do. You couldn't talk about gay people. You couldn't talk about divorce. You couldn't talk about cancer. Cancer was another one that was not spoken.
Really?
So no one ever talked about cancer. It was whispered.
I didn't grow
All
up.
these things were
I
whispered.
didn't grow up Catholic. My dad did,
Yeah,
but I did not.
they just
I
didn't talk about it.
my mom was Lutheran, which is Catholic light. That's
Yeah,
what I call it.
yeah.
Catholic light. And my dad, went that way when they got married because
Why not?
well, you want to hang around my mom, you do what she wants to do.
That's
That's
it. That's it.
but that's no, it's I
I got canceled.
I know enough about the Catholic Church from it being so similar to my own and from my dad growing up with it, and I married an Irish Catholic girl,
Oh,
and
go figure.
yeah, from West Park.
It's related to everyone.
Related to everyone.
Everyone's a
You
cousin.
know, 7 kids. They were Catholic.
Of course, Irish Catholic, absolutely, absolutely. Look
That
out for
was
the redheads, right?
so I learned, but so I know what it's all about, and it makes me crazy.
Yeah,
I'd rather
I
talk
don't even.
about
I don't
something else.
exactly. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I'm like you treat people that way, and you're surprised at the way things turn out.
How about that? Imagine that. We got a real progressive pope now, though. Yeah.
Well, as far as popes go, we do.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's amazing. But we'll do another one. What else? What are you feeling today? What are I got some fucking '90s vibe going on.
We get some '90s vibe.
Yeah,
going
I
on.
want to let's go back to the
Let's
days
see.
of
We got a little bit more time here.
the end. Some of the
'90s. Hey, think about that for a second. I spent most of the '90s. By 1995, I had turned off the radio completely.
yeah.
And I haven't
I did. I
really
mean,
listened to it since.
'90s when
So
you had your grunge, you had the bands like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, REM, Sugar. I'm trying to think of all the great stuff I used to
see, I was
in.
really into the '80s REM and
Yeah.
the grunge scene. I got to tell you, I missed
Couldn't
most of
do it.
that. I didn't. Nirvana's my least favorite band of all time, bar none.
Excellent.
And
That's fine.
yeah, I would throw that whole band into a wood chipper if I could. It's a
It brought about the Foo Fighters.
that well, and they're okay. I can deal with the Foo Fighters. I like that, and I like Dave Grohl as a person. The things he says, I love listening to him talk, and I love learning his philosophies and outlooks on things. I like that guy. I think we get along,
I think so too.
and I
Come
do
on
like
sometime.
I do like the music he's made since he sliced off the dead weight and went out on his own.
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
It's
Did you ever get into the Chili Peppers?
in the more of the '80s stuff.
Yeah.
That's I think Blood Sugar Sex Magic was the last record I really got into, and that and like Soundgarden, their big hits were in the '90s.
Yeah.
With Super Unknown, that record really exploded. I hated that record. I loved Bad Motorfinger.
Yeah.
Which was an '80s. I thought that record was amazing, and I
Yeah.
still do. I still love that record. Pearl Jam was one that grew on me over time. I
Yeah.
did not like them at the time, but the further I get away from the '90s, the more I like Pearl Jam. I mean, I really enjoy their music now.
I think they matured.
They matured, they aged, and I even like the old stuff now. Like now I can. At the time, I think I was angry at grunge in general because it ruined real rock and roll for me.
Yeah, right.
And
Right.
I was big into that Sunset Strip thing.
Right.
And that to me was, I like the alternative bands too. I was also into the Church and REM and
Yeah.
the B-52s and the Alarm, and
Oh,
I
the
loved all
Alarm.
that stuff, and Driving and Crying. I loved all that stuff that was out at the time. But I also really loved that Sunset Strip,
Yeah.
glammy hair rock scene.
Yeah.
And that to me was like the real rock and roll, and this other stuff was alternative. And
And
I
it
liked
killed it.
them. I liked them both.
Yeah.
But when grunge came in, it destroyed everything I liked.
It did.
It destroyed the alternative bands and their airplay and their putting records, and it destroyed rock and roll. And it went to this thing that I didn't recognize, and
I don't think it started picking up until probably like 2001, somewhere around there, and I think that was when like the White Stripes and
yeah.
the Strokes and bands like that New York rock scene started coming back on.
I mean,
with that sound, but
people like to make fun of the hair rock scene, but I maintain, and and I will till the day I die, that was the closest we've been, and the closest we will probably ever get again to the original 1950s rock and roll birth. It is. It was short of retro acts, like the Stray Cats did it, but
Yeah.
they were a retro throwback act.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
weren't really. I mean, as good as they were, and as great of a songwriter as Brian Setzer is, there wasn't a lot original there.
No, it was.
Brian Setzer got original after the Stray Cats were over.
Absolutely.
It was a '50s throwback band, and they were very
Setzer's
cool.
first album was fucking amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
after the
Oh yeah.
what the fuck was it called? There was I mean, it takes me back to where you were, New Mexico and everything. It was that Southwest kind of feel to it, and I'm like, this is Setzer, and it was just emotional, great
Yeah.
songs. Maria was one of them.
Now he's a hell of a songwriter. He's
The
a hell of a
Night Feels
guitar
Like
player.
Justice, right? I think that's what it was called.
Yes.
Or at least that was the single.
That was no, but I know exactly what you're talking
Okay,
about. I don't remember for sure, but I know exactly what you're talking about. No, he's a hell of a songwriter, hell of an instrumentalist. He's a great producer. He's a great band director, band leader. He's got it all. But the Stray Cats, they were, aside from retro acts like that hair metal Sunset Strip scene that blew out, it was the closest we've ever come since 1959. To real rock and roll.
Yeah.
And people say, well, there's nothing in common between them. And I say, yes, there was, because they both had the same heart.
Yeah.
When rock and roll started in the 50s, it was who can dress the craziest, who's got the wildest hair, who can play the loudest and the fastest. All the songs were about sex and partying and fast cars.
Right.
It was, the two scenes were almost identical. The only thing that separated them was the evolution of fashion.
So
Other than that, it was, the technological advances of guitar playing and stuff, but it was all about being loud, fast, pissing old people off. It was about fucking and drinking and driving fast and dressing like a bunch of crazy people.
So
and
how many? Back to say, did the Beatles ruin rock and roll? I mean, because when you think about rock and roll, kind of ended in the '60s when the Beatles came on, and the Beatles weren't singing about that shit. They were singing.
They were early on, but
right.
they did a Stray Cats early on.
Okay.
Like Meet the Beatles and the first, that first record, that was pretty much a Little Richard and Buddy Holly and Big Bopper ripoff.
Right.
It was, they wanted to be an American rock and roll band, and they did it. After that, they turned into, like, I don't know, the British Invasion. It wasn't rock and roll to me.
And then you went, to the 70s.
It's cool. There's a lot of really cool shit there. 70s birthed arena rock.
Right.
So, which kind of birthed the hair metal scene, but the hair metal scene was so much more of a 50s. It was so much more of a revolution.
Yeah.
Because
there were bands. I mean, when you think about the arena rock stuff, and Rush and Ted Nugent. I mean, you just think about those bands. I'm like, that stuff it's nothing like metal.
Well, and then you had a huge musical evolution too, where you had the prog stuff like Yes and Genesis and King Crimson, and they were doing arenas. A band like that would never sell out an arena now.
Yeah.
Audiences just aren't that sophisticated.
Yeah.
But popular music did evolve to a point before it started its decline again, that it got really pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
And way out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think
before grunge came along.
Before grunge, well, then you had
and
punk,
it was
and
like,
then you had post-punk, new wave, and then new wave just got sidetracked from, and that birthed a lot of my favorites with like Duran Duran and Depeche Mode and all that stuff, and that got kicked to the side with hair metal. They're just regular Sunset metal.
It was just rock and roll, man, and it was.
It.
Now we call it hair metal, but at the time, I mean, that was
rock and roll.
straight up like 50s balls out rock and roll. It was 3 and 4 chord songs. How fast can we play? How loud can we play? How angry can we make the old guy in the corner? You know, and the wild hair, wild clothes,
Yeah.
and just sex, drugs, and rock and roll debauchery.
Just read all the
It
books
was,
that they wrote because that's all it fucking was.
and the lifestyles too. The lifestyles weren't that different. If you read, if you get really into reading about, the fucking depravity of people like Little Richard,
Yeah.
and his ilk, and the way that those guys were partiers, man.
Yeah.
It was all about the chicks and the blow and the it and the same. Really, it was no different from 1987 on Sunset Strip.
That's amazing.
It really was. Even the content of the songs and the songwriting was so similar.
Yeah.
And people don't get it. They're like, that music sucked. The 50s were awesome. And I'm like, they're the same thing, man.
Same thing. They're just singing it faster. That's all there's to it.
Yeah.
All right, you got to do one now. You know you got to do one. You got to pull out.
I always focused on the ballad stuff because that was what got the girls to like me.
That's beautiful.
And I was always focused. That was my main focus. People that why did you start playing guitar? Did you want to? No, I wanted girls to like. I didn't play football. I didn't play football. I didn't have a cool car. I was,
pick up the guitar and sang in a hill somewhere, and girls gonna.
They just kind of showed up, and you got these guys, you got these angry guys our age who were like, "Oh, I play guitar, never got me any girls." Well, you must be doing it wrong, because I can honestly say I've never had a relationship in my entire life with a person of the opposite sex that didn't start with my guitar. That's since I was like 14 years old.
There you go.
It's the honest truth.
My guitar gets the ladies.
People are like, well, did you want to be a songwriter? Did you want to change the world? Did you want to, get world peace? Did you want to? I'm like, I wanted to get girls to like, yeah. I wanted smooching,
It was the best way. I tell everyone too this story about.
I wanted snuggle time.
We'd go up to Coventry. And Coventry was kind of just artsy back then. Now it's all Disneyland and everything. They had Arabica. My buddies would bring a guitar. I would sing, and you'd have girls. I mean, that's all it was. And it was pretty amazing. We were just having fun, drinking coffees and whatever, the artsy people. But that got all the girls. That was it.
Well, you mentioned the girls, and that was the other thing is we were also starting to come into the 90s when that died, and that I think was the very catalyst in the beginning of which turned out to be a good thing, of the modern feminism and the Me Too movement and all of that, because that music was not.
Well, you think about it,
Joan
Jett, the girls that were coming out.
It was that music was not, it was not woke music. It was, and the videos and the culture that surrounded it was degrading to women, and it was all about them being scantily clad with big hair and bouncy boobs, and that was the whole thing. And so that was kind of the catalyst for that too. And people, point to that as being different from the 50s, and I'm like, that was so not different.
Yeah.
I'm like, because women were even so much more subjugated in the 50s.
Absolutely.
They wouldn't have been allowed to dress like that and come to the show.
Nope.
Absolutely not. They would have been burned at the stake.
Witch. She's a witch.
Anyway, let's see. Let's do an 80s ballad. And we could probably call this episode and just sit here and have a fire for a little bit.
That's it.
So you think that it's over, and your love has finally reached the end, and it's time to count down a day. I'll be right here for you if you need a friend. It's gonna take a little time to show, to mend your broken heart. Don't you even worry, pretty darling. I know you'll find love again. Love Yeah, love is knocking outside the door, waiting for you. Is this love made just for two? Keep an open heart, you'll find love again. I know, 'cause love is all around you. Yeah, love is knocking outside the door, waiting for you. Is this love made just for two? Keep an open heart, you'll find love again. I know. Love will find a way. Talking love is gonna find a way. And its way back to you. Love will find a way. Look around, open your heart. Love is gonna find a way. Love is gonna find a way. Love is gonna find a way. Love is gonna find its way back to you. I know. Do, do, do. I know. Do, 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 do. I know. Do, 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 do. I know.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Oh man! All right, well that's it
That's
for our
it
session.
for this session.
We gotta make sure that, and it looks like I'm crying because that fucking song.
Well,
and
you know,
I am.
as
I am. I'm crying.
as the weather gets a little warmer and warmer, we can have a few more of these. I was telling
Yeah,
Jason, I'm going to be gone all summer long.
Yeah.
I'm leaving middle of May, and I won't be back until September 1st. I'm going to be a cowboy.
That's
Literally, for real.
That's
I used to do this way, way back in another life, and I'm going to do it again. And because I've been off work for a year, and I got to make some money, and this seems like a good way to do it. But I'll be back September 1st. But until then, weather's going to be getting warmer. We should get a few more of these. In.
Yeah. We gotta get this other chair filled over here. Bring out one of the other our big guns.
I need somebody to bounce tunes with.
Yeah.
And I think
And
we
I'll
should
just
do
sit here
that.
in the middle. I'll be like, fuck it. I'm just gonna keep going.
I think we should do that next session. You and I will get together off camera and decide who that's going to be for the next one.
We'll find
But
something.
until then, you guys keep both feet on the wheel. Never pet a dog that's on fire. Love your neighbor, or I will. See you later.
Oh, that's amazing.